Hi, 1 Hour Smart Home here, and today we're going to show you how to install a Leviton smart motion sensing dimmer. So this is a Wi-Fi controlled smart switch that's going to allow you to control it from your phone to turn it on or off, as well as it has a built-in motion sensor right there so that it can automatically sense motion and turn on or turn off after motion isn't detected for a while. And it also has dimming capability built in. So this has got a little bit of everything. This is called the Leviton Smart Motion Sensing Dimmer, and it's the D2MSD. So let's get started installing this. So the first thing that we need to do to get started installing our motion sensor light switch is cut the power off at the circuit breaker for this existing switch. In order to do that, you want to make sure that you have the switch on at the light switch on the wall, and then we're going to go to our circuit breaker and turn it off, and then we'll know the power is cut off when the lights are no longer on in this room. So let's go do that right now. So here we are over at the circuit breaker, and I need to find the circuit breaker that goes to those lights. So it is my basement / garage. It's labeled number 12 here, and I'm just gonna flip that circuit breaker off. We've got the power turned off at the circuit breaker, so now we can remove this existing light switch cover plate. Just take a screwdriver and remove the 2 screws. We've got the cover plate off, and now we're ready to remove these 2 screws for the existing light switch. Now, if you've got a non-contact voltage meter or you've got a multimeter, it's a good time to just recheck and make sure the power is turned off. But if you don't have those, just make sure you left that circuit breaker off. Try the light switch again to make sure that nothing turns on. And now you can remove these 2 screws for the existing light switch. We've got the screws holding the light switch in place removed. So now we can pull the light switch out of the junction box, and then we can inspect the wiring. Now, the Leviton Smart Motion Sensor Dimmer that we are installing does require a neutral wire. So we need to check in our existing junction box to see if there is a neutral wire. So we've got our hot and load wires on the switch already, so that's good. We've got these 2 here. And then if we look in there a little bit further, we've got these white wires here, and those are our neutral wires. So we're good to go installing this Leviton Smart Motion Sensing Dimmer. So we're going to get started with that. Now, before you do anything with the wiring, I recommend you take a picture of your existing wiring so that you know exactly what is in there. So let's just take a good look, make sure that we've got a good picture. We've got our ground wire here, and then we've got our incoming hot wire down here on the bottom. We've got up top, that's going to be our load wire going up to the light fixtures. And then we've got our neutral wire right here. So take a moment, take your picture, and then we're going to start removing these wires. Now, what I always like to do is take a piece of electrical tape to mark which one of these is the hot wire, which is this bottom one down here. That's the incoming power. And then you can just leave the load wire unmarked, or you could mark that as well. But I'm going to mark my incoming hot with a little piece of electrical tape, and then we're going to remove all these wires. We've got the hot wire marked right there with a little piece of tape, so let's remove these 2 screws to remove our existing wires. We've got the hot wire removed, and that one is marked. Now we're going to remove our load wire. Now, it's important to note that typically your hot wire, the incoming power, is going to be on the bottom of the switch if it was properly wired and it's a standard switch. And then at the top of the switch, you're going to have your outgoing wire that goes to the light fixtures, which is called your load wire, and that's going to go up to your light fixtures, and that's typically going to be on the top. Now, that's not always the case, but if your switch was wired correctly, that should be how it was installed. But if you're unsure of how to identify your hot wire or your load wire, you can always seek out professional help to do this. Now we've got our last wire here, which is our ground wire, so we're going to remove that from the existing switch. We've got all the existing wires removed from the existing light switch, and now we're ready to install our smart motion sensor light switch. So let's get this wired up. So here's the back of the Leviton D2MSD smart dimmer motion sensing light switch. And you can see on the back of it, we've got our load wire up here, our line wire, which is that hot wire that I marked over here with this extra piece of tape. So line or hot wire are an interchangeable term. So that black wire is going to go to this black wire over here. And then the other black wire, which is our load wire, which I didn't mark, that's the one that's going to go to our red wire there. Now you've got this GND, that stands for ground. That's our green wire down here. And then the white wire is going to go to the white wire that we've got in the switch box. And that's our neutral wire, and it's also labeled down here. Now the last wire is an extra wire, and that's what's called a traveler. That's for three-way switch configurations. But we're not installing this in a three-way switch configuration. We're just going to use this switch to control one set of lights that's controlled by one switch. A three-way switch is for locations where you've got two switches controlling one set of lights, like you might find a switch at the top of the stairs and a switch at the bottom of the stairs. That would be a three-way switch configuration where two light switches control one set of lights from two different locations. So let's get this wired up, and I'm just going to start with getting my line wire wired up, which is my hot wire, to the marked hot wire over here. The existing wires were bent around the existing switch, so we're just going to straighten those out with a pair of pliers and make sure that we can get those all wired up to the new wires that we've got, because we're going to be using wire nuts for those. So we need those wires to be nice and straight in order to get those twisted together. So we're going to take all the hooks on these out. You can just do that with a pair of pliers like so. Sometimes you can do it with your fingers, but it can be a little tough on your fingers if you try and do that. Now I'm going to take the switch. I've got my line wire here. That's this black wire. I'm going to take that black wire and I'm going to wire it to my line wire or hot wire that I marked over here, and just take a wire nut and wire these two together. So just twist them together until we get a nice solid connection. The next wire we've got here, that's our load wire. You can see it right there, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to wire that to our top black wire here, and that's the one that's going to our light fixtures from the switch. So we're going to take that and wire these two together. So take my load wires and wire those together with a wire nut. Now we've got our green ground wire down here, and we're going to take that green ground wire and we're going to wire it to the unshielded copper wire here. So we're going to wire those two together, and that unshielded wire, that's my ground wire. So just take those two, wire them together, and use a nut to screw together. Now the last wire I've got here, that is my neutral wire. We do need to wire that up, and we've got these existing white wires here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the wire knot off the existing two wires here, and then we're going to take our white wire and wire it together with those two already there. So we've got now all three of those white wires together, and we're just going to take our wire nut and we're going to twist those right back together. Now that we've got everything wired up, all we need to do is put these wires back into the junction box. So do some wire origami to fold those back up into the junction box. Then we're going to take our light switch and just secure it with the two screws that are provided on the switch to the existing junction box. So let's do that right now. Now we just take a screwdriver and secure these in place. Now we've got our smart motion sensor light switch installed, and we're ready to put the cover plate on. So they provided one of these cover plates with the switch itself. So we're just going to take this and you can pull it apart, and you put the first backer part on here, and you're going to secure that to the switch, and then you're just going to snap this part in place, and it gives a really clean installation. You don't have any screws that you can see then. Now we take our cover and snap it in place. All right, now we've got our smart motion sensor light switch completely installed, and we're ready to go turn the power back on at the circuit breaker, and then we can get it set up on our phone so we can control it remotely. We find the circuit breaker that we turned off right here, and we flip it back on. All right, we turn the power back on and you can see this has turned on. We've got this blinking green light, which means it's ready to set up, but we can also just turn it on and off right here from the switch, which is great. And then you've got your built-in motion sensor up here at the top, and you can also dim right here. So this is a really fancy switch for the basement / garage that I'm putting it in, but I really like this because it will save energy. If I ever forget to turn my lights off in my garage, it's automatically able to turn those lights off. But what's even better is if I pull my car into a dark garage, it'll trip that motion sensor and it's going to turn the lights on without me needing to turn them on, which is really great. So a lot of applications for these, and dimmer switches are now required by code in some areas of the country for bathrooms to help save energy. Depends where you're at, but it is a nice feature to not worry about leaving the lights on or turning them on when you're coming back into your house when it's dark out. So let's get this set up on the app. If you haven't already done so, you're gonna need to download the Leviton app, which we've got right here. You're gonna need to set up a username and password and then log into the Leviton app. So I've already done all that, and you can see of some of my existing devices that are already on here. Now, I wanna add this device so I can control it remotely from my phone. And that's what's great about this Leviton smart dimmer, is that you can control it from your phone, or you can just use it with the motion sensor so it'll turn on and off automatically. But there's so much functionality built into it, it really makes it great for if you want it connected or if you don't want it connected. But if you've got it connected, you're gonna have a ton of functionality and flexibility with how you can control this, and if you wanna set it up for timers, or if you just want to be able to turn it on and off from your phone as well. So let's click up here in the upper right hand corner on the plus symbol, and we're going to click on add a device down here at the bottom. Now we're installing a motion sensor dimmer switch, so let's go all the way down to the bottom, and that's what we're going to install. Click on that, and it says before we start, is your motion sensing dimmer installed, and is the status LED flashing green? Yes, it is. That's our status LED. Let's click yes, let's go. All right, now we need to select our device. It popped right up there, and we're going to click next. Connecting. Choose your Wi-Fi network here, and click next. Enter your Wi-Fi password and click next. Connecting to device. Now we need to choose an icon for a device. I'm just going to choose the one that it's got there, which is a motion sensing dimmer, and click save. Let's call this one Motion Sensor Garage. And click next. Now we can choose a room for this, but I'm just going to skip this for now. Now, what's great about this smart motion sensing dimmer switch is that it does work with Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, if this then that, and it works with Siri. So you've got pretty much every voice assistant compatibility built into this smart dimmer switch, which is great, but you also have the motion sensing capability. We're going to click finish now. Now, this is the home screen that pops up once we're done setting up the motion sensor light switch. Now, you can see right down here at the bottom, that's my switch, and I can click on it. And I can turn the dimming all the way up to 100%, or I can go down to 50% right here, or I could turn this completely off. We're going to turn it all the way up, and you can see over here on the side, I've got some lights that indicate the current dimming levels. Now, I can turn this off if I click over here, and it will turn completely off. Or I could just click right on the switch and turn it on as well. Now you've got down here a motion snooze. So if I click on that, it allows you to snooze the motion sensing for a period of time. So I could snooze it for a minute, an hour, 10 hours, 24 hours, whatever I wanted. But I don't want to have it on motion snooze, so I'm going to just click end motion snooze right there. If I want to go into more device settings, I click down here at the bottom, and you can see all the other settings we've got. We could change the name, or we can go in here and click on our advanced settings, and then we can click on stuff like our motion sensor options, our device options, night settings, or preset light level options. So let's click on device options here, and what you've got is locator mode, so that will light up at night. And you can choose that to be on or off. You've got your LED bar behavior, so you can customize that, how long you want that to stay on after you've press the switch and it dims or it turns on. And you can go back here and you can click on your motion sensor options. This is what's great. You can turn this on or off, so you can enable it or disable it, and you can set the amount of time you want that light to turn off at. So you could have it for 1 minute if you want to save more energy, or you could have it up to 30 minutes or an hour, whatever you want here. So for mine, I'm going to leave it at 10 minutes. I think that's a good compromise of what we're going to use it for here in the garage/basement. Now, down at the bottom, you also have some other modes. So we've got an occupancy mode and a vacancy mode. Occupancy mode will automatically turn the lights on when motion is detected and will turn lights off when no motion is detected. In vacancy mode, it requires you to manually turn the lights on, but will still turn the lights off when no motion is detected. So I'm going to use occupancy mode because what I want to happen is when I come into this room, whether it be from the house into here or from the garage into here, I want this to be able to turn on when motion is sent. So we're going to leave it right at occupancy mode. Now down at the bottom, you've got a motion LED feedback, so you can disable that or enable it. I'm going to put that on, and all it's going to do is let you know with a little LED light in here that motion was detected, and then it's going to flick right on. So seems to me like a good option to have. So we're going to go back out of here. We're going to click down here at night settings and see what we've got in there. Now at night, I can have it set to turn on the room lights, so any lights that are connected to this will turn on. But you also have a little guide light on this. I mean, this light switch is packed with features. So you could have it set to just turn on the guide light that will let you see a little bit of space near the light switch instead of the room lights. But we're going to leave it on with room lights right there. And then you've got your night preset light level. So you could set this to whatever you wanted, enabled or disabled. But we're going to leave it just how it is, so we're not going to worry about that at all. But we can go back here one more time, and then we've got our preset light level options here. You can have it return to a previous brightness or a specified brightness. So if you always wanted it at 100%, you could leave it on that. So we're going to do that. I want it to 100% whenever I come in here, and then it'll always turn on there rather than going back to like 50% if that's what you had it dimmed to before. Now let's go back again and look at what else we've got. We've got our bulb options here, so you can just tune it for different types of LEDs, or if you've got fluorescence or CFLs or non-dimmable or incandescent light bulbs, just makes it work better with the switch if you tune it. You've got a fade on rate and a fade off rate, so that's how quickly the lights will turn on or off. And then you've got your dimming range. So here you can set it so it has a maximum minimum level. We'll leave it right where it's at. And then let's just go back. So thank you for watching this video on how to install a Leviton smart motion sensor dimmer light switch. Really like this switch. It's got a ton of features packed into the device, so really easy to use. You've got dimming, you've got motion sensing, you've got smartphone capability, you've got voice assistant capability. This thing really has it all, so I really have liked that switch so far. Now, we've got a link down below for this light switch, and if you want to support us, click on that link or subscribe or give us that thumbs up. It's always appreciated. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.